Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here. I want to especially thank everyone for participating in our democracy. My name is Joe Simperman, and I am the president of Global Cleveland. It is truly an honor to be part of this important conversation tonight here for the candidates for Cleveland City Council in Ward 2. At Global Cleveland, we are excited to host this non-political, non-endorsement community candidate forum centered conversation around people who were born outside the United States who call this beautiful city, Ward 2, Cleveland, home. We look forward to this discussion and the positive momentum for Cleveland's future that we know it will produce. If English is not your first language, please check the Zoom options bar for the interpretation function. If that option is available, we have live interpretation available. And if you click on the tab, you should see an option for languages. Thank you very much for participating and for being part of this. Before I introduce our moderator and our candidates, I would like to thank our partners. As many of you know, if you want to travel fast, travel alone. If you want to travel far, travel as a community. And we are traveling far with Asia Inc., Asia Town, Cleveland, Bodondo Community of Greater Cleveland, the British American Chamber of Commerce of Ohio, Building Hope in the City Club of Cleveland, the Cleveland Council on World Affairs, the Council on International Programs, USA, the Cleveland Cultural Gardens, Collaborative Chambers Alliance, Connecting Cleveland, the Downtown Cleveland Alliance, the Global Shapers Cleveland Chapter, the NAACP of Cleveland, the Ohio Progressive Asian Women's Leadership, Refugee Response, Smart Development Incorporated, Us Together, USCRI Cleveland, and the Young Latino Network. Thank you. Putting this on would not have been possible without each of our partners. And now, before I explain the guidelines of this forum, we have a short video from Mo Kantner, our national partner at the New American Economy. Ms. Kantner.
And welcome to today's candidate forum with Global Cleveland. My name is Mo Kantner, and I'm the Director of State and Local Initiatives at New American Economy. At New American Economy, we're a bipartisan research and advocacy organization that focuses on making the economic case for better immigration policies at the federal, state, and local levels. Now, immigration may feel like an abstract issue debated at the national level through very technical, political, and bureaucratic constraints, and that's partially true, but immigrant integration happens at the local level. How communities attract and welcome newcomers helps lay the foundation for whether a person stays, works, starts a small business, or raises a family. In Cleveland alone, there are over 125,000 immigrants. They pay over $1.3 billion in taxes and help fill workforce needs in healthcare, manufacturing, and other critical industries. They're also over 60% more likely than the US-born population to start a small business in Cleveland. They not only help fill workforce needs, they create jobs for other Americans. And that is something that can't be captured at the national level. Those impacts are happening on the ground every day in Cleveland's communities. Our local elected officials have a huge impact on people's day-to-day lives. And when policies are established that let everyone live up to their potential, everybody benefits. So thank you again for participating in this critical conversation, and remember to vote.
Thank you so much, Mo, for that wonderful presentation. And now we will move quickly to review the guidelines before we get to the questions. A reminder that all candidates will receive 2 minutes to respond to each question. If a response hits 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the candidate will be muted to allow for efficient movement throughout the questions. Number 2, the candidates will answer alphabetically, with the person who went second on the previous question answering first on the next question. Number 3, any and all derogatory language or personal attacks will result in a candidate being muted and the next candidate being allowed a chance to answer. And number 4, this is to be a civil discussion. This is not an endorsement. This is not a debate. Please, let's keep it that way, and we will respect everyone in attendance. It gives me great honor to introduce our candidates running for Ward 2. Mr. Kevin Bishop. Kevin Bishop is the incumbent councilman in Ward 2 and is proud to represent the community in which he was raised and instilled his values. Welcome, Councilman. Mr. Azelle Bolden. Azelle was born and raised in the city of Cleveland by his parents, Tyrone and Lucretia Bolden. He has a BA in economics and has been a banker at Huntington Mortgage, loan originator at Quicken Loans. He has owned his own store in his neighborhood and is a substitute teacher in his community as well. Not only understands the people of his community, but also the problems in society. Welcome, Mr. Bolden. And our final candidate here in Ward 2 tonight is Ms. Monique Moore. She's a candidate running for City Council in Ward 2. Gives me great pleasure now to introduce our moderator for this evening. Mr. Christopher Carey is the Vice President of the British American Chamber of Commerce in Ohio, an organization dedicated to supporting business partnerships between the United States and the United Kingdom, providing business development opportunities, as well as enabling access to a broader transatlantic business network. Furthermore, Chris is a portfolio manager with Carnegie Investment Council, a registered investment advisor headquartered in Cleveland, where he advises on custom portfolios for select clients. Mr. Moderator, Chris Carey.
Cheers, Joe. Thank you very much. So with that, we would like to move into the discussion questions with our candidates. We will have 40 minutes for the pre-supplied questions. So let's begin. So the first question, and we're going to start with Mr. Bishop. What is your experience serving and interacting with the national community in your own community and the Northeast Ohio at large? How has this shaped your understanding of your community and your role as a leader? Mr. Bishop. Well, I'll have the global Cleveland staff reach out to Mr. Bishop. Maybe he can dial in instead so that we don't have to worry about that. So I'm actually going to move on to Mr. Bolden, if you'd like to answer that question, please.
Yes, my international experience as far as interacting with the international community has been very strategic in my learning and becoming a leader, understanding that where there's diversity, where there is, differences, we do have a chance to bridge the gap, and learn a little bit better about each other so we can create resources and create opportunity where everyone can strive and we can all receive a return on our investment. And so working for Huntington Bank, where I worked at University Circle, where, it's probably our most diverse area in the city of Cleveland, what it does is it given me the background and the insight on understanding, dealing with a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different diversity with the students there at Case Western Reserve. I'm working with them, understanding of customer service and how to make those scenarios and those situations comfortable and reflecting, each other, learning, like I said, those differences and making bridges. I think, from there to Quicken Loans, dealing with, people doing mortgage, over a broad base of different people, working with people one-on-one from a lot of different places every day, on an impromptu, it definitely gives me a lot of background in working with a diverse group of people.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Ms. Monique Moore.
Yes, I just want to give a little bit of background information about my experience. I was a probation officer for over 20 years. I also worked in a juvenile detention center as well as the Cleveland Heights Municipal Court. Currently, I am a licensed and bonded general contractor. And being a licensed and bonded general contractor, quite naturally, you come in contact with a lot of different people from various backgrounds. One of the things that I did as a probation officer, I started a community reentry program, particularly for those individuals who were getting out of prison. And again, that includes a wide spectrum of people. I've been in a position, as I am self-employed, to hire individuals from various backgrounds, which allowed them to not only enhance their skills, but it allowed them to go on and build employment opportunities for themselves. So that in and of itself has been had a tremendous impact, because I still, to this day, have a working relationship with these individuals. Currently, particularly in my investment properties, I hire individuals from various backgrounds. Why? Because they are not only quick to work, they're fast learners, and they offer comparable prices. So that in and of itself would be an asset to the community, because we need a variety of individuals to bring this community back to the area that it needs to be in terms of revitalization.
Lovely. Thank you so much. So it looks like we aren't able to get Mr. Bishop. I believe the team's working diligently to get him back on the line. So for the in the interest of time, we'll move on to the next question. And that will mean that Ms. Moore will start with you answering first, and the question is as follows. Our population loss from 2010 to 2018 would have been far greater if it were not for the 37,000 immigrants who moved into Cuyahoga County during that time. These new residents have offset the population loss by 45%. So how can we attract more immigrants to move here and continue this important trend? Thank you.
Right. We definitely have to offer more economic opportunities. In fact, I've seen an influx of immigrants moving into the Ward 2 area. And we need to utilize those particular individuals to, again, not only in terms of creating employment opportunities, but also enhancing skills that they need in order to make them vital individuals in the community. So I would attract them by offering employment opportunities, offering skilled trades, and offering just in my business alone. I'm trying to create a trucking company that would offer the skills in heavy equipment operation. So again, that would be the I guess the connection that I could utilize to bring residents, particularly immigrants, into operating effectively within our community by
Lovely.
attracting more businesses, right?
Lovely.
Creating more economic opportunities.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Mr. Bolden.
Yes, the one thing that I would believe to see once we start to looking at, population and offsets of things like that, the one thing that we have to remember is the people is our harvest. Since before we looking at, jobs and working, and before we're looking at what they can do, we have to have environments where these people can live in, be comfortable, and strive. And so what I look at in our communities, before we have to attack a lot of things in the streets, we have to see that our communities are brought up and brought to a level of a survival mode to where when we ride through, it's attractive to someone that's an immigrant or someone that's a young student, anything, to where somebody's striving. We see a lot of liquor stores and just gas stations, things like that. And what we have to do is put in more resources to where maybe in our rec centers, we can be more receptive to these immigrants, so we can put in resources for connections there, where we can put in some way we can cause this bridge to be gapped to them maybe feeling like outsiders, so they can come in, have resources. Maybe we can help them connect with the community, learn what the community has to offer, see what other resources we have as a community that we can offer to them. But then, like I said, remembering that we have to invest into the people, into where they are, before we look further into, putting them into any type of position. But we have to make sure that the area that they go in is getting a return on investment, and making sure, like I said, the homes that are there for them to come into, that there are, ways for them to be taught and for them to learn how to enter into the community.
Lovely. Thank you very much. So next question number 3. There are over 1,000 immigrant entrepreneurs in Cleveland, and 38% are more likely to be, which are 38% more likely to be entrepreneurs than US-born residents. What portion of the Economic Development Office in the city of Cleveland would be devoted to supporting immigrant entrepreneurs under your leadership? Mr. Bolden, if you would like to go first, please.
So when we look at economic development in the city, one thing that I like to look at is making sure that there's a return on investment for all. And so when we look at, these numbers to see, what percentage will we look at as far as economic development goes, I believe we should be looking at, the population and what's being created, so we can make sure that when we bring in a certain group of people, that we can assure them, the economics that they need, we can assure them the opportunities that they need, but also we can assure, like I said, a return on investment for all parties. So as they come in, we want to make sure, like I said, these numbers are matching, And so we're looking at, 30, 40% of a population where they're producing, that much of an income or that much of an asset to the community. We want to make sure that we're returning on that investment. And so when we look at, it says that I consider 1,000 immigrant entrepreneurs, just as well as they're pouring into the community, we would look at those numbers and make sure that they're getting a return on that investment.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Mr. Bolden. And Ms. Moore, same question to you, please.
Well, I think it's just difficult to gauge because we don't know the minority population at this particular point. However, being a general contractor myself, I know that it's very difficult to get minority set-asides. So I would definitely strive to get them included into that minority set-aside. Now, in terms of percentages, once again, it's hard to gauge because when you look at the areas and what areas they primarily live in, they may represent only 1 or 2% of the population. So if they're only 1 or 2% of Ward 2 population, that means we can employ pretty much everyone. You know what I'm saying? So that number would go from pretty much whatever the minority set aside is, it can go to 100%. You know what I'm saying? Considering the population of the immigrant community. So again, until we understand, and when you say 38% are more likely to be entrepreneurs, quite naturally, we're going to invest our energies. And I think Mr. Bolden said it best. When you gear them towards not only enhancing the skills, but creating an environment that is conducive to them learning and eventually becoming entrepreneurs, that 1% can definitely be an asset, not only to the community, but to themselves and their family, as well as the other immigrants as well. Those other immigrants that wants to move into our communities, because what we're trying to do, we're trying to build Ward 2 to the point where that is efficient for everyone, that everyone can have an economic growth available to them, have access available to resources. So once again, those resources will be distributed accordingly based on the need. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Ms. Moore, would you, and if so, how would you report adding new members to the Community Relations Board that represents the changing immigrant population in Cleveland, such as an African immigrant community liaison or an Arab immigrant community liaison? Thank you.
Right, you have to connect with the people. You have to connect with pretty much every group in your community that utilize that community sources. The Arab community has been around for such a long time that I am quite familiar with a lot of the store owners in our communities who have served not only the community quite well in terms of providing different products and services, but they have also contributed to the community. They need to contribute more, but nevertheless, they do contribute. What I would want to try to do is collaborate with the various communities to see that if we can sit down at a round table and discuss a lot of the issues that we know that there's a problem in Ward 2. We just have to sit down and come to some solutions. And one of the solutions that I would recommend, especially to the Arabs that's in our communities, is that it's some personal issues. One of those issues is they allow individuals to circle the stores or be around the stores, in front of the stores. That in and of itself creates crime. That in and of itself creates a lot of people who wants to participate, who wants to patronize that store. It prevents them from going in that store because of the people loitering around in the community. So in essence, we have to have and we have to engage in constant dialogue to address those issues to curb a lot of the plight that's surrounding our community. So again, in answer to the question, we have, when you say adding or supporting new members, I will have to go to each group and ask that they, again, sit down at a round table so we can discuss the issues, discuss where we go from here, discuss how we can benefit from one another. That is crucial, particularly in this day and age where you're seeing a lot of the crimes occurring.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Moore. You're out of time. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
and moving on to Mr. Bolden.
Yes, so and a little speaking about how I would support adding new members and staff to Community Relations Board. Looking at it, like it says, representing the change in immigrant population, we would have to look at the numbers in the change of the population to make sure that we are representing correctly. One of the biggest things that I understand about adding new members and staff to Community Relations Board is one thing that's been big and coming up with things like this is the public comment and the public being able to, say something or have an input or some type of connection with those that are making these decisions. Because like you said earlier, every decision that's made is a direct impact on every citizen in the city or in the area that we are discussing. And so when we look at these boards as far as representatives, we have to remember to make sure that every voice is being heard because each family will be represented. But when it comes to adding the members of staff to these boards, I believe what we could do that would support this best is just like in the communities where they have created our community, our ward leaders, and where we have people that's on a board there, we can have these communities such as our African immigrant community and our Arab community create groups. And from those groups, we can make sure that they have spokesmen that speaks for that group and make sure that their voice is being heard.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to question number 5, please. So on average, 500 to 700 refugees are resettled to Cleveland every year from countries such as Nepal, Afghanistan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Somalia. The Biden-Harris administration announced they will increase refugee admissions to 125,000 a year nationally, up from 15,000 this year. This means Cleveland's 3 refugee resettlement agencies will have 3 to 4 times as many families as they did this past year. How do you plan to open Cleveland for these new residents and provide refugees with the opportunity to contribute to Cleveland? Mr. Bolden, if you would like to go first, please.
So when we look at, something like this, where we look at refugees coming in and getting an overflow of this many people, we have to make sure, like I said before, that there's not only a smooth transition coming into the community where we have, like I said, one of my biggest things is looking to take our rec centers and actually make them resource centers for ideas just like this, to where we can bridge these gaps to make it a lot easier and have resources put right in the community along with our police force. But when we see this many people coming in, we need to make sure that we have resources set in place along with opportunity for economic growth. I mean, we see a ton of, economic growth now from a lot of the refugees and things like that. So what we want to do is make sure that as they come in, we can have, means for jobs and positions and things like that opened up to where as we work in our communities, we can make sure that they're a part of this growth that we see. Where we see a ton of money getting ready to come in, we want to open up, different things in the community. Like I said, where we provide homing for those that's coming in, we provide economic opportunity, good food choices, schooling and training, and things like that. To as they come in, we can open up and cater to, not just if it was refugees, but any new people coming into our community. We want to be accessible and open to those individuals and those residents.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bolden. Now moving on to Ms. Moore with the same question, still number 5. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. The first thing you need to provide is access, and that's access to clean, affordable housing. One of the ways that you can do that is connect the immigrants to various programs that they can utilize to help to assist them with this. One of those programs can be the Cleveland Land Bank. Another program could be the Cleveland Housing Network. These are all programs that they can access to not only find affordable rental properties, but if they have a few dollars, Cleveland houses are going at a dime on the dollar. So if they can invest a little bit of their monies, if they have any, they can invest into not only buying these houses, but rehabbing these houses and making these houses vital homes again. That will not only increase the property value in their surrounding areas, but again, it would allow them to have access to clean and affordable housing. The second thing that we can do is offer them some type of incentive, rental incentive. That means that Cleveland Housing Network has a program that is saying that if you stay in this house and you rent for a certain amount of time, you're able to purchase these homes. So these are vital things that the immigrants can utilize in order to become not only home owners within the ward, but also become vital citizens in that ward and be taxpayer-paying citizens.
Thank you very much. Moving on to question number 6. Annually, hundreds of international students graduate from Case Western, Cuyahoga Community College, and Cleveland State University. Within them, they demand skills who are not being retained in the area to contribute to the population and economic growth. Can you share what policies you will support to address this? Ms. Moore, if you'd like to go first, please.
Okay, I'm trying to understand the question. With demand skills who are not being retained in the area to contribute to the population and economic growth, can you share what policies you would support to address this? That's a good question. The policy that I would address is in order to retain students, you have to have viable job opportunities for them. And if there's none in Cleveland, you create them. So I don't know what they have international students graduating, but it's difficult for me to answer that because I don't know what skills they have in order to put them in the right direction. But we do have trade schools. We do have programs that would assist them with finding jobs. I don't know if that answers your question, but I don't know how to answer that one. I don't. So, Mr. Bolden.
It's okay. And I'm sorry, I actually got cut off.
Okay.
But essentially it's asking, people are graduating with these skills. How can we ensure that those graduates who have skills that are, relevant to the industries in Cleveland, how can we ensure that we keep them here versus them gaining their education in Cleveland and then going further afield?
Again, when you're looking at incentives, you have to create some type of incentives for people to stay here. One of the incentives is in terms of residence. I know a lot of companies help students with homes, not rental properties, but paying rent. That's an incentive. Other incentives can be hiring incentives, like a bonus. So there's various things that you can utilize in order to try to retain students. I think that's all I have right now.
Lovely, thank you. I appreciate it. Moving on to Mr. Bolden, please.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about students graduating with these skills and understanding directly that issue where we see a ton of students graduating from college and they're not able to move into the workforce right away because opportunity just isn't there. And so one of the things that I think I would be able to support to address this with equality for all being at the top of the list would be, equal access to, these schools that we have available, equal access to the homes that we have available, making sure that there's equal access to our resources and, things that we have available in the community to where, like I said, when these students come out, they're not secluded from society, but they're included. And we have, like I said, they're working with where we have, I believe not Case, but Case does as well. We're working with like Cleveland Clinic and University Hospital. Things like that are policies that, they use to make sure that as those students come out of the workforce and out of college, that they can walk right into, the workforce, and they have to employ with so many of those students. And what we want to do is keep pushing, these ideas, and also maybe look to open up more facilities to where we could put in more room for this policy to be opened up and for there to be more open access to these students graduating.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So we're going to move on to question number 7. We are coming close towards the end, but we can at least fit this question in, which is, Cleveland has sister cities all around the world, such as, I'm going to butcher this, Ibadan, Nigeria, Lima in Peru, Gdansk in Poland, and Bangalore, India. What is your game plan for making Cleveland a more open and international facing city to strengthen and grow these relationships? Mr. Bolden, if you'd like to go first, please.
When I would think about opening Cleveland and making it, I guess, a more international, strengthen and growing in relationships, one of the biggest things that we understand is trade, being something that is very important with strengthening countries to make sure that there's a return on investment on both sides. And so one of the biggest things what we see now, as you mentioned, a lot of these sister cities coming in, and we have immigrants coming in. We see a lot of different products coming in, whether it be, from one of these places, or India or Poland, or one of the other places. We see a lot of different products versus where when we knew NAFTA, the North America Free Trade Agreement, where we see a lot of Mexican products and a lot of Canada products, but we are seeing a lot more other products. And what we can do to strengthen these relationships and grow them is open up, the opportunity for these products to be put on the shelves, for these families to be able to benefit from coming in with these products, and from being able to, offer these resources to the people here, and from them being able to offer the product and we're able to purchase. We can see both sides win. We understand this barter system. Through the barter system and through, connecting on economics, we can strengthen the relationship between the two, but also, make sure that both parties are receiving a return on their investment.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Mr. Bolden. Now moving on to Ms. Moore. Same question, please.
Yes, I want to see Cleveland become a hub for export as well as import services. And the reason why I say hub, when you look at people like Amazon, well, a company like Amazon has different distribution companies pretty much all over Cleveland. If we can establish another hub that would assist these particular sister countries coming in, that would be advantageous, not only from an economic standpoint, but from an employment standpoint, where people will have an opportunity to gain employment. So from my perspective as a council person, I would once again have a roundtable where I would meet and talk with these individuals from these various countries and see if we can establish something that would utilize the products and services, so we can have an easy way of distributing as well as importing these particular products. That's it.
Lovely. That was detailed enough. That was great. Lovely. Thank you very much. So moving on to question number 8. Immigrants are a key part of building a successful and strong regional economy. With a spending power of over $3 billion, how will you support integrating this powerful demographic into a regional growth plan? Ms. Moore, if you would like to go first, please.
Well, for the most part, I think because we're dealing with the infrastructure, there's a lot of building opportunities for people to come in. There's a lot of land availability for people to take advantage of. So those are the areas that I would start with first. And let me add on to that. When you look at a lot of the empty buildings that's here, we can have individuals who are willing, ready, and able to invest their resources in rehabbing these particular buildings, which would add to what the last question, when we're talking about international trading and import and export. These can be hubs used to make that particular transaction happen. But we need those dollars from these individuals to, again, build the infrastructure within the city of Cleveland. So again, revitalizing Cleveland, revitalizing the buildings, giving access to different individuals, different groups, in order to make Cleveland a better place and a more successful place for everyone financially.
Lovely, thank you. Mr. Bolden, just before you respond, just want to say that this is the final question. So if attendees could submit some questions and answers, we'll give a little bit of time, some questions for the Q&A session. If, and I'll give a little bit of time after you answer as well, just for those to collate and come in. But with that, Mr. Bolden.
So thinking about the last question posed here, looking at, where our city is getting ready to receive, a ton of money due to a COVID relief package over $512 billion. We see that, this money is going to be dispersed into our communities. And from understanding, how this money works and having my bachelor's in economics and understanding trade across countries, we understand that the number one way to make this thing work as far as creating and growing when it comes to regional growth and demographics, we have to remember that first the people are the investment. And so we have to invest into the people. And in return, we'll see, those investments coming back from investing in the people. And then we'll see from, like I said, when we build these resources to where we can see this $3 billion worth of spending power utilized. There's no reason why we don't see returns on this type of money. When we look at a lot of our communities, this is something that we should be able to utilize and use to help us to build on. And so one of the things as far as how we can use this type of power to integrate will be, we would look for, ways that we can find investors and make connections with people that's investors in the community, bring them into where we can revitalize the community, restructure the community. And when we see, this type of spending power come in, like I said, it's easy to revitalize a community when we see $3 billion worth of spending power, and we're able to utilize that and actually, channel it with purpose in order to see, like I said, not only an investment on and return on one side, but a return also on the other.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Mr. Bolden. So with that, thank you very much, candidates. That was our final pre-supply question. So now we'll be moving on to the Q&A from our audience. These questions will appear in the Q&A chat. The same rules apply as before, and all Q&A questions will be answered by each candidate unless they are directed to a specific one. I'm just going to give about 30 seconds for some questions just to roll in, get those finalized, and then we'll begin. So just about 30 seconds wait. Okay, brilliant. I've got one, so I'm just going to start with that, and we'll go from there and see if any more roll in. The first one is Ohio has only one consulate, which is Slovenia. These offices provide a wealth of services for the citizens of their country and US citizens getting visas to go abroad and visits those nations for businesses. Those nations for business. What is your plan to attract consulate offices to the region, which will then draw business and immigrants? I'm going to start with Mr. Bolden.
Well, so that plan was for immigrants in Slovenia, was that?
So yes, there is a consulate which is a place that one goes for general services.
Right.
So what plans do you have to attract other consulate offices to come into the city of Cleveland, better serve those nationals?
Well, yeah, so as we spoke with before, one of the biggest things that I want to do as elected is like now we see our rec center used as basically like a basketball place, workout place where they just go and let's lounge around if they're not working out. But I want to see it turned into a resource center in totality, to where, like I said, when we bring people into our community, we can see them brought in and able to be assessed, to where, like you say, if they're looking for those specific services, we can offer them not only, guidance to someone that can offer them a service, but if they need to be walked through, if we need to offer, the translation of the language, we can offer that. But we need to see, like I said, that resource center, so that even if it's not just someone from there, but anywhere, we can bring them in, they can come into our community, and we can assess them at a rate to where they're not thrown off or kicked back to where they receive, the negative flag or the negative energy from coming in and, not knowing exactly what to do, but we can assist them from where they are and have them moving fluently into the community and strive.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bolden. Ms. Moore?
Yes, just let me say this. I'm familiar with a lot of the international policies. So again, I'm new, just like you guys are new to this. I'm new as well. But one of the things I want to say in terms of when we're talking about attracting other people from other countries, Ward 2, even though it's under distress at this current moment, we still have a wealth of opportunities that exist within the community. It can be, again, a vital community if people just see the value in it. There's plenty of land that needs to be developed. There's plenty of people that need work. So there, once again, when we talk about building, when we're talking about forging relationships with other people, I want them to see that Ward 2 can be the next village that once, what was the name? Tuskegee or Rosewood. That was a thriving community at one time. I want them to invest in the people, just like I want them to invest in the land. So how would I bring about this? I would show them the wealth of opportunity that Ward 2 has to offer. Don't just look at the current condition, but look at the possibilities, look at the future. Because as we know, New York was once a slum, and now look at it. It's now a thriving community. And I can say the same thing for throughout. So I want people to see that we're worth it, that we value ourselves, we value our community. We just need a little assistance. And with that assistance from other people who would invest in the community, everyone stands to benefit from it.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Ms. Moore. It looks like we've got Mr. Bishop back with us. Are you there, Mr. Bishop?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you crystal clear. Would you like me to repeat that question for you so you can...
Yes, please repeat that for me.
Certainly. So the question was, Ohio has only one consulate, which is for the country of Slovenia. These consulate offices provide a wealth of services for the citizens of their country and for US citizens looking to get visas to go abroad and visit those nations for business. What is your plan to attract consulate offices to the region of Cleveland, which will then draw business and immigrants?
Yes, first, I think that is unacceptable that we only have one consulate here in the state of Ohio. And I would ask this new mayor's administration to work with the governor, work with departments in the state house in the state of Ohio to create more consulates to represent this people that's living and thriving here in the city of Cleveland. We have great partnerships here in Cleveland that we can tap into, such as Asian Town and the NAACP, places like Global Cleveland. They are in this business to connect these communities. I would also solicit the city council to increase funding for partners like Global Cleveland, so we can have more resources to attract these folks and to provide services and do an outreach for these communities. I think what we're doing down in the cultural gardens, where we are putting out, we are soliciting private monies to create these platforms down in the cultural gardens, I think is a great way to bridge the divide here in the city of Cleveland and bring these communities together. So it's up to the administration with a little push from council to solicit the state so we can get these consulates up and running, and we can provide services for these immigrants. They're much valued and much needed. You know, when somebody comes into this country from abroad, you know, they have a lot to learn. And to bridge this learning curve with consulates, with the city of Cleveland, with the state of Ohio, I think is a great place to start. And Global Cleveland is doing a great job providing those services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bishop. Now, unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties with you, which meant that you were unable to answer the 8 questions that we put forward today, which is, you know, it's unfortunate. So what we were going to do is, as an aside from this, because we are getting close to the end of our time here today, is we will coordinate with you for you to supply your answers under the same conditions. And when it comes to the distribution of this webinar to not only your constituents, but the wider Cleveland area, we'll make sure that both you know, your answers and the answers from Ms. Moore and Mr. Bolden are supplied in tandem. So with that, I would just like to say thank you, everyone, once again for attending the Ward Candidate Forum. We would like to thank the candidates for coming here in good faith to speak to the international community tonight. As a reminder, we invited every candidate running for election in this ward, and everyone was given equal opportunity to reply, except for the unfortunate circumstances of Mr. Bishop, which we will rectify during distribution. You can find the answers to these questions from every candidate who completed the questionnaire on our website. We would especially like to thank the audience for coming today. It's your vote that will determine the next generation of the Cleveland City leadership. Thank you to the interpreters as well for providing language access. We would also like to thank our incredible sponsors and partners who made these forums possible. They are Asia Inc., Asia Town Cleveland, the Domdo Community of Greater Cleveland, the British American Chamber of Commerce of Ohio, Building Hope in the City, City Club of Cleveland, Cleveland Council of World Affairs, Council of International Programs USA, the Cleveland Cultural Gardens, the Collaborative Chambers Alliance, Connecting Cleveland, Downtown Cleveland Alliance, Global Shapers Cleveland, the NAACP of Cleveland, Ohio Progressive Asia Women's Leadership, Refugee Response, Smart Development Inc., US Together, USCRI Cleveland, and the Young Latino Network. All of these organizations perform wonderful work for our international community. Please find them on social media and on the web to learn more about what they do. And so with that, everybody, have a wonderful evening. And remember, we strengthen our city by welcoming the world. Thank you and goodbye.